I've just invited him to join. Hey,
Hey,
there he is.
how are you?
I'm not too bad, man. I'm not too bad. What about
Sorry, I've
yourself?
got my specs on so I can read any comments.
Yeah, exactly. The comments will come flying in. I'll keep an eye on them as well. Don't worry, and I'll lock up the good ones so we've got something to discuss if anything relevant comes in. For my guests who don't know you, I obviously know who you are. Tell us a little bit about you, Rob, and potentially how we know each other as well.
Well, we can start how we met each other was in a musical called Rocky Horror Show musical. I mean, it was one of the most bonkers theatrical productions that I've ever done, and that's where I got the pleasure to meet you. Myself, I'm your typical boy next door who dreamt of becoming a theatre actor, and I call myself a dream catcher. I don't chase dreams, I just catch them. So yeah, I started life off as your typical village boy with dreams of reaching somewhere like London, and started as an engineer. And at the age of 25, I took to the boards, started in the theatre, and now I'm turning 48 now, so many years ago.
Yeah, wow. So yeah, you did. That is something that definitely comes across as you as a human, and how down to earth you are. That you are, without sound, as a compliment, you are like a typical bloke, right?
I'm so the guy that just goes down. You can take the boy out of the village, but you can't take the village out of the boy.
Yes.
I think I always say, and this is I learnt this phrase in Germany, and it doesn't matter who you are, and celebrity or fame or whatever, everything's relative. There can be YouTubers that have millions of followers. For the first time in my life, I've started watching YouTube over the last weeks, and some amazing people out there doing great things. But I never knew of them before, but they have millions of followers. So yeah, celebrity or fame is very relative. So I always say, we all cook with water, no matter who you are. No matter if you're the wonderful, talented Ricky Gervais, or you're Joe who does the plumbing down the street.
Yeah.
Oh, look, Shaz has joined. So we're going to get some wonderful comments there. Sharon Sexton. And I just think that if you just remember where you came from and what is important for you in life,
yeah,
and that no matter what you achieve, you're still going to cook with water.
That is, I mean, that's an excellent saying, and I definitely agree with that. Is it like a German? Is that a German saying?
Yeah, wir kochen alle mit Wasser.
See, I say a similar thing, but yours is much more eloquent. Like, I just say that everyone's shit stinks, no matter who you are.
Yeah, that's it, mate. It's true. I mean, I think that we're all the human race, and we all came from the same place. And I was reading, I've been listening to this audiobook actually recently on David Jason. I'm a huge David Jason fan. And there's one sentiment that he says at the end, it's the journey, not the destination. So remember where you come from and what you're doing. Be present, be here now, because we all started in the same place and we're all going to end up in the same place. So be kind.
Wow, it's powerful, and we spoke about a lot on the stream this weekend with Sam, our mutual friend, and who we met in the same show.
Wonderful Sam Cassidy,
yeah, and we spoke about that thing of it's being happy in your knowing what direction you're going in, so you feel like you've got a bit of purpose, but it's no ultimate destination. It's just being true to who you are and enjoying the present moment, because obviously self-progression to help other people and whatever they are, that's really important, but any ultimate goal is going to be dangerous at the end of the day, because one, you might never reach it, or two, even more dangerous, you might reach it.
Yeah, I mean, if you have got, it's great to have goals, but never set anything as the goal, because the only goal which is certain is death. So if you have
as harsh as that sounds, but it's true, isn't it? Like, we have to, we tiptoe around it. Yeah.
You have steps on the ladder, and never step on somebody's shoulders to get up the ladder. Always take their hand, because if you fall, somebody's there to catch you. It sounds very poetic, but it is the truth. Everybody says this, sounds cliche, but everybody is the same. If somebody steps on your shoulders to get higher, you will remember that, you know, they just used you as another stepping stone. So have your goals, but have your purpose and your reason to achieve these goals. And once you've achieved them, what are you going to do with that knowledge? I think that it's just very important to remember that kindness in any aspect of anybody's profession is the key to achieve goals.
Yeah, agreed. And just so link it back to how we met to round that off. It was a musical called Rocky Horror Show, and Rob did probably. I don't want him to make him feel uncomfortable now, but this is something that we're trying to get better as men, as a collective. He is the most talented, incredible performer. He played the lead for. I'm sure there's people in the chat that's seen him play Frankenfurter. Is that right?
Yeah, it's Frankenfurter. Yeah.
Yeah, he's played the lead Frankenfurter, but you've done that production like three or four times, I believe.
Three times, and each time was an amazing, incredible experience, because it not only draws on a specific kind of audience, but a specific kind of individual performer. It's where it doesn't happen very often in theatre, where you have so many amazing, explosive personalities on one stage and there's no ego.
Yes.
You know, we had the likes of yourself and Sam and Stuart Matthew Price and Maria Franson, and the list goes on. John Hawkins, Daisy Wood Davis. Everybody had such an explosive personality, but there was no ego. It was all about, look what we can achieve when we put all that together. It's not about. It's such an ensemble show, and it attracts the most amazing of audiences. And in some ways, people will probably, in the everyday of life, they would class them as misfits, but we're just a bit more eccentric than others. And that's this kind of audiences that shows like Rocky Horror Show, or if you imagine as an audience member who loves theatre that Rocky Horror had a child with We Will Rock You, then that became Bat Out of Hell. They all attract that same misfit or misunderstood audience, and they become a family of the Rocky Horror Show, or a family of Bat, or a family of We Will Rock You. It's I don't know, the Peter Pans of the world and the Wendys of the world, they're just children that don't really want to grow up. And why should you?
I mean, it's a really great point, and I think that it shows, especially at a time like this, how important community really is, and that we have the ability to build communities, and we should take that responsibility on ourselves to be a collective and stay together, because connection is so important. I've definitely heard you describe yourself as that, as the Peter Pan model more than once. Tell us a little bit about that.
Maybe to do with my this tattoo here. You can't see it, it's upside down, but it's also in German. Wenn Träume fliegen lernen. When dreams learn to fly. That's a Peter Pan, J.M. Barrie quote from Peter Pan. Yeah, I think this is the way to be. I think that children are the most honest and all-seeing, how do you say, member of the human race. And I think that we should all stay like that. Get those horse blinkers off and accept people. I mean, I lived in Berlin for a long time, and that really opened my sight on everybody. That it doesn't matter who you are, what you are, and you can just be happy and be accepted. It's a really free city to live in. And I was listening to your opening speech today and about listening, and and not just that peripheral listening, but don't wait for your time to speak. Really take in and listen. Yeah,
I mean, it's human nature. We all do it. So it's just being aware of it and clocking it sometimes when it's the most important. Sometimes if you're in a discussion or a debate or something, maybe it's important to be just doing attentive listening. But there's definitely a time and place to be empathetic and like sometimes if somebody's opening up to you, they don't want you to try and fix them. They're just sharing that information with you, and in the safe space, be grateful and just try and understand. And sometimes that's enough, I think.
Yeah, they just want to know that they're being heard. And it is very difficult when we're in, especially in a debate with more than a couple of people. You latch on to things you identify with, but sometimes it's not about identifying. It's about letting a friend or a circle of friends know that, you know what, if they want to unload their, I don't know, their stress points of the day, you don't have to have the answers. You just have to let them vent. It's cheaper than therapy.
Yeah, definitely. You said about you made a beautiful comment about children and how important they are, and we've got so much to learn from them. It kind of brings me on to what I was saying about mentors. Is that children can definitely be our mentors if we look at it that way. Obviously, we might be the more authoritative figure in the situation, and we might be their mentor, but letting by us by them letting being by them sorry, can't get my words out. By them being taught by us, we're learning just as much as they're learning. And,
yes, of course.
And you're a father, right? You must have learned some amazing lessons from your children.
I do. I mean, I can give an example of yesterday. I was speaking. My daughter's in lockdown in Italy, and I'm in lockdown in Lincolnshire. So we FaceTime every day. And yesterday, we found out that her pet rabbit had dug a hole and escaped. And she didn't want to speak. She locked herself in her bedroom and was trying to get through to her. And she came back to me later and said, "Daddy, I know it's going to find other rabbits in fields, but if it's dug a hole, how will it?" You know, she was more concerned about how will it survive? How will it make friends if it's underground? How will it drink? What about if it's thirsty? And you know, she was really going into a deep thought about this poor little rabbit that's escaped, and how children need time to be allowed to grieve for the loss of a pet rabbit, or to be on the understanding that they're allowed to be sad, and they're allowed to talk, and they're allowed not to talk, and they're allowed to digest their emotions before you know, the parent just wants to cuddle them and say, but they're not always ready for that embrace. So to watch her journey through the acceptance of the disappearance of the rabbit was really interesting, and I do learn a lot from her. She's a sponge. And same with my son. My son's in Berlin, and so we've got two extremes of this current situation of how to deal with mental health. We've got my daughter who's not been outside in 8 weeks in Italy, because they're really strict in Italy. Policing is really strict. And we've got my son who's in Berlin, and they've opened the schools again today. And, you know, yes, they're having the social distancing, but they're still, you know, there's a fine line between the two extremes, which is Berlin and Italy. So, and here we are in England, and there's some people who take it serious, and there's some people who just think that it's a lie, you know. We're and I think that the hardest thing and the best lesson I've learned during this process of the coronavirus, it's been 6 weeks now since I was in the show Mamma Mia, and we got told our contracts were being made void. And first, it's a hard pill to swallow, like everybody who's facing a loss of work. Mm-hmm. And it's anyway, when I hear from people who have been furloughed, or people who have maybe struggling with their jobs at the moment, that they say, we don't even know what's going to happen with work in 3 months. And then I always say, welcome to my world of musical theatre, or theatre, being a freelancer. We face that at the end of every contract. We don't know. So I think as hard and as struggling as freelancers find this at the moment, we were in the better preparation, because we've prepared for that most of our careers. Yeah. We're always preparing for the unknown or the uncertainty of work. It's more now about what positive things can we take from this? And not to waffle on, but I was saying to my partner Sharon this morning, today's the day of the 6th week of isolation, and we're allowed to do our hour of fitness. And I've been running every day with I'll try and show you our dog is here, sleeping beside me.
Oh, cute.
Doggy. I learned a lot from him too, and he's 2 years old today. And I went for a run with him this morning, and it was the first day in 6 weeks that I have run without thinking about something or worrying about something. I never run with music. I always run with just the sounds of nature. But today was the first day where I actually went, wow, I just enjoyed looking at the branches blowing in the breeze, or the landscape, or what was on the horizon. And I was like, wow, 6 weeks that took for me to, and I can't remember the last time I've run or done any sport without having another conversation going on in the back of my mind. So I'm taking that with me from this.
That's amazing that you've got the ability to do that. I mean, like you said, it's been 6 weeks now, and you've been running a lot. Like to find a mindfulness and to find quiet in the mind is a very precious thing. And whatever.
But I wasn't searching for it.
Yeah.
I just realized at the end of my run, I came back and I said, wow, I saw this, and I said, wow, that's so fitting for today. And it's just by coincidence. I didn't go out there and go, I'm meeting Elliot today on Men2Health, and I just went out and went, okay. I was just so happy because I saw how happy our dog was this morning when we woke him up together and sang him happy birthday. And he brings so much joy and so much happiness. And he was so excited that I think I just ran beside him, watching him and enjoying his freedom. And
there's definitely there's so many lessons like to be learned everywhere. And like what you just said about not backtracking too much, but with your daughter and the rabbit, one of our friends that we met, Ross Aldred on Rocky Horror Show.
Lovely Ross, yeah.
His husband was on Men2Health, and one of the lessons that we got from his chat was how important acceptance is of allowing yourself to feel the way you do. Like if, for example, if an adult was going through grief, they probably would maybe pretend that they're all right straight away, or try to put on a brave face. Whereas your daughter, just she has that ability because she hasn't been socially conditioned to just already be accepting of how she feels it and allows it. And then the beauty of that, she's not thinking it from a selfish point of view. She's thinking of it of the rabbit's point of view.
Yeah. She was totally thinking of just straight on to, Daddy, I'm really sad, but I'm more sad for the rabbit not being able to get a drink of water. And I was sharing all the messages yesterday with Sharon, and she's like, it's just a heart that's so caring for others. So putting another creature, another human first is something we should learn from children and remember. That's where our natural emotional state comes from. It's about taking others into consideration, other people's feelings into consideration. I do a little bit for Men's Health myself with Sharon. Every year we do a little ride. I'm a keen motorcyclist.
I've seen this, yeah.
And we do something called the Distinguished Gentleman's Ride. And what got us into that was a coincidence of seeing a flyer, and then we read up on it and read that one person dies a minute from mental health issues, whether it's suicide or but mainly it's suicide. One person a minute in the world from suicide, and that's men under 40. It's pushed more towards men, but obviously this is a wider span. But the thing about mental health is people do bottle things up and they don't speak about it. I mean, my dad died in my arms when I was 21. My mum died just before I started Bat Out of Hell, suddenly on her birthday. And I put them all in a shelf. You know, I ran away when my dad died. I didn't want to speak to anybody about it. I thought if I ran away, nobody would know. And I didn't speak about it with anybody for a long, long time. And I escaped by going to a different city, looking for a different profession. And when my mum died, it was just before rehearsal started for Bat Out of Hell. And as crazy as it sounds, I took photos of her lying in a coffin, and used to look at them every day, multiple times in the day, to accept it, because I wasn't there when she died. I was on a plane on the way to her birthday, and but people don't talk about things like this when they're whether they're a teenager. I think it starts from teenage years, or when they're in adolescence, or when they're a fully grown person. You know, some people just bottle it up and say, "Oh, I don't want to burden somebody with it." But we should talk about it, even though, you know, probably come across as a hypocrite because I never did.
No, but as in these, there's probably many reasons why you didn't, and we get one, we see ourselves differently to how we see other people. Like if somebody else came to you with that information, you'd be honoured to be there to listen. But for some reason, we have this warped perception of ourselves that we will become a burden. But also a combination of, like, you grew up in a village where I'm guessing masculine or being a man is a very different thing. Like
it was.
I mean,
I wanted to be. I loved theatre, but couldn't be in the theatre in the village.
Yes,
because, you know, somebody wore pink socks. That was, if you know what I mean. That was. I remember actually. This is very funny. When I got my first big show, professional show, which was Starlight Express, and I was a huge Lenny Kravitz fan. So I mean, obviously those two go hand in hand, Starlight Express and Lenny Kravitz, and I wanted to be Lenny Kravitz, and I wanted to paint my fingernails black. I wanted to be that rock star. And I remember coming home to the village one weekend, and I walked into my uncle's kitchen, and he was like, "What's going on with your fingernails? Get that off." You know, and that was many moons ago, but he was serious.
yeah, he was deadly serious. Get it off.
He was deadly serious.
No question, no curiosity. Just,
you know, I come from one of those villages where nobody really, or in the old days, they never used to talk about anything. Nobody would have an affair, but everybody looks very similar.
And it's so funny you said it, even about like small things like pink socks, that baffles me. Pink's just a colour, and I know we identify like boys and girls with blue and pink when they're born, but hasn't that only been around since Victorian times? Like it's been branded as boy and girl.
It's still there in some countries. I've witnessed it. Sometimes if I buy my daughter a blue jumper,
which is just, it's mental when you think about what colour actually is, when it's just an absence of a wave of light. So we
sometimes I remember with my boy when he was younger.
Sorry.
To say to him, "You choose what you want to wear, Ian," and just let him. Yeah, sorry, I think my battery just went 20%. I'll find a charger.
Yeah. I mean, I used to wear. I think I wore my sister's dresses more than she did when I was younger. Definitely.
Yeah. I can see you're fighting that now with a beard.
Yeah, I know, right? The bearded lady.
I'm just reading somebody's dyed their hair pink. Good on you. My son's just dyed his hair red.
Yeah, Cody was one of our previous guests. He's a chaplain in the school. Very cool guy. So yeah, I think there's a combination of the points that we've made so far is like self acceptance, of allowing yourself to feel, or if that's the first step to being able to talk about it, I guess, allowing yourself to be able to feel. But also, you think it's very clear. You think it's important to be connected to innocence, and because that's transparency in itself. But also, I wonder what your opinion is about how you connect with your own inner child. I know you do it naturally a lot because you're a very fun and playful person. Do you think that's important, and how do you connect?
For me, what definitely keeps me more aware of the inner child is having children.
Mm-hmm.
But it's also just, I'll quote again on David Jason. He was talking about Ronnie Barker, and they were laughing so much in rehearsals. And Ronnie Barker said, how amazing, we get paid to laugh, and we laugh every day. And I think that's all what children are, it's easier for them to laugh about situations. And I think when you grow up, I mean, of course we have to take responsibilities for actions and things, but I think sometimes the best medicine in the world is laughter. And I think that some people class that as being childish. I just class it as, I'm allergic to penicillin, so I class that as my penicillin. It heals. It really does. I remember back to when I was a child, and I'd watch BMX Bandits, one of these early films with Nicole Kidman, which is, and I wanted to be a BMX bandit, and I fell off my bike, and I grazed my knees on the metal pedals on my Diamondback BMX. And I went to my gran, and it looks like half your knees hanging off. And she's like, oh, come here, love. I'll wash my hands, don't worry. And she would lick her thumb and there. And that would heal. And it would heal by itself. But nowadays, if you get cut, you have to have 16 injections, and you'll be off work for 10 weeks. Mm. But I think that a lot of it, of self-healing, whether it's through laughter or through the mind, is being pushed out by the society too. I think that, I'm not saying that we should all self-heal, but I think there's a lot of things that are pushed onto us.
Yeah, I think
from society, which make us scared. And I think it's about control. And I think it's about others wanting to take control. And that's also of your emotions, and whether it's your emotional state of laughter, your emotional state of sadness, or, there's all these different types of grief that people deal with every day. I have a dear friend, and he suffers a lot with mental health and anxiety. And since this lockdown, he's not been out. He's so scared to go out. He's in his late 60s, but he's so scared. He's such a wonderful person. And he's been through an amazing career, an amazing life, but he's also been through a lot of sadness through his brother committed suicide on his birthday, and how do you ever deal or accept things like that? And we've all known of people dying through natural causes or through diseases and stuff. And the thing is, when somebody takes their own life, there are so many people who are that close. And the only experience I've ever had with that is, and it's from one of the boys in the village, and don't quote me on this, but I understand that before he took his own life, he called his family and just told them that he loved them. And there was no cry for help there. So some people are so scared to talk that was his goodbye. And I was like, wow, how? There was no signs. Everybody loved this boy. And so please, anybody, if you're feeling anything where you're any anxiety, talk to a friend, come on one of these chat pages like this, which is brilliant, Men2Health, and just reach out and say, hey, just notice me. This is I always relate to either books or movies. And I remember this movie, and some people probably hated it for many reasons, but I loved it for the positive of it, which was a Mel Gibson film called What Women Want.
Oh, yeah.
And he was able to read the thoughts of women. And yes, he manipulated them by using it for to get with people or sexual pleasures or whatever. But there was one where he was able to hear this girl who worked in the secretary, who worked in the office, who used to say, nobody even knows I exist. Nobody even know if I jumped off a cliff. They wouldn't even know I was gone. And that triggered with me most out of that entire movie. I remember that going away and contemplate, how many people are there that go around thinking that they're invisible? And I know it was a fun comedy, whatever, but I took that away and I was like, my God, I took so much seriousness away from that silly movie.
No, I think that that is like, I can't agree with you more that if anybody does feel like that, the one thing to know more than anything is you are not a burden. No matter how you feel or how invisible you feel, you're not a burden. So definitely, I couldn't agree more with you, Rob, about that. Just speak, just to give someone just to give someone an inch, and just let people know something, or just even.
There's definitely somebody out there, and in today's world, there are platforms where you can be anonymous, and even if it's not like, you don't have to. It's hard. I think sometimes it's harder to talk than to write, and we can all hide behind our identities on Facebook and Photoshop ourselves how we want to look and stuff.
Yeah.
And and there's artists that have drawn onto this thing about the whole with the spotlight on you and the darkness on the left and right of us is the real chaos in our lives, and that is just how we want to perceive ourselves or portray ourselves in social media. But there are platforms out there for people to reach out and talk, and if it's through that media, then use it for that positive, to reach out and say, if you exist in that world, you're existing and you are being noticed, and it will give you the courage to go to the next step, to talk to a friend.
Definitely. And like, just anyone, like, if my inbox is always open, and like, this is still a new platform at the moment, but Men2Health will definitely, and I can find them out for you. Like, there's loads of, no matter where you are in the world, there's so many, like, Good Samaritans, there's Mind charity, there's all these. You can just speak to someone anonymously, and people who volunteer their time really care and really want to listen. And
what have you learned through this isolation time? Have you any messages that I probably haven't seen on your other chats? That,
mate, I've learned this. One of the main reasons I started this is, like, I just want to create a level playing field. I'm not here to tell anybody how to be or what to do. I'm the same. I'm the same as you. Like, even though I might be the face that you're sick of, that you see every day, this platform is nothing without the guests and everybody's story. And I've just learned that, like what we said, is some of the main things are, like, you're not a burden. Communication and community is so vital, and we have the ability to like, I live in my own head a lot, and even just this has just proved to me that I can make something happen if you stop living in your head and you action something and stop and just look. And like, some other things are like about being a leader or being a lighthouse, where it doesn't matter what people think of you, as long as you can find your own identity. Then just speak your truth, and people. It's just better to be that way, because then people who align with you are going to come towards you, and people who don't are not going to be. But that's all right. And also, like, it's all right to not know the answers to anything. You might not know what your identity yet, but that's fine. Just speak about it and just say, I'm looking. Or just, I mean, just so many lessons, mate. I could go on for ages about every single guest. When a lot of people come on, say they're nervous and feel like they don't have a lot to give, and sometimes it's just the most beautiful conversations come.
And then they probably just like floods of information comes out that they probably didn't know that was they were ready to share. I feel that what I've definitely learned over these last 6 weeks, we've been very fortunate in such a situation to have landed in a wonderful town called Louth, and it's absolutely gorgeous. There's just rivers flowing, and there's beautiful landscape, and such a wonderful community where people are abiding by the 2-meter distancing if you go to any shops or for a walk, but they're still very smiley, and the good mornings, and actually just take him for what it is. And I mean, isn't it a joy to open the door? I know I miss flying to my children, but to not have that smog, and to not have that,
of course,
that noise that I didn't realize until probably the end of the first week. I was like, there's no airplanes. That we normally, you don't realize how peaceful it is. You can start to hear the bird song, and so I learned a lot more about, I guess, being grateful for, the world that we are guests of, but also it's really interesting who I've touched base with again from my circle of friends.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And
Or
how easy it is.
I'll share this with you. It does make me laugh because I do love uh, um, I do love humans. You know, there's many performers who say, you know, I hate people. I love audiences, but I just hate people.
Very
And
self-serving, to be honest.
but but going through my the village where I grew up in, because I've got a lot of furniture in storage, and I said to my partner, I said, I've never seen so many old people wearing shell suits since like the 1990s. They're all like, we're only allowed out for our fitness. There's like rows of them. Everybody's in their tracksuit or shell suit. You know they haven't worn that for a long time.
Yeah.
But I was speaking to my son last night, and he said, Dad, the best thing that I love, you know, because Opa means granddad in German, and he said, to watch Granddad, who was the biggest couch potato, yeah, in the whole of the universe. He goes for a walk every day. Since he's not allowed to,
Yeah. Yeah.
he has been out religiously every day on his hour of fitness. And he said, the thing I hope that we gain from this is that people continue to do that for themselves.
Bless him.
Isn't that, I mean, he's always been a bit of a philosopher. I remember when, look at me, I'm sharing stories now of my kids, but they just have a better view on life. I remember when I was going through a divorce, actually, with his mum, and he said to me on a flight, we were flying over the clouds, he said, Daddy, wouldn't it be lovely to have breakfast on a cloud? And I said, oh, wow, why would you say that? He said, you know, then we can just get a better view of what lies ahead of us for the day. Because he knew that times were a bit heavy and stuff. And I was like, well, you know it better than me, mate.
Yeah, you're doing better than me. I like to do this thing on the stream where we try and like maybe get a few key points from our talk, and there's so many things that are jumping out at me at the moment, but I like to just link a few together and ask you a further question with it. You said about that, like the one of your main tools in the way that you stay young, connected to your inner child, is laughter, and we also spoke about the inevitability of death, and knowing that if we really accept that, then what's like, it's, you can see it as a game. It's light-hearted. Like, let's keep jovial. Let's find comedy and humor in even in serious situations. Obviously, there's a time and a place where it's not applicable, but to keep light-hearted. And you definitely, just to bring it back to on Mondays, we like to have a loose theme of Mentor Mondays. Something that I've witnessed from you firsthand. And also it combines with the fact that you said about people sometimes feel like they're not heard or they're invisible. As for you, those of you who don't know, Rob is an incredible performer, and he's a leading man. So he has a, and there's definitely sometimes it feels like there's a responsibility as a leading man or a leading woman or a part in a company, which is just essentially a new community that you build with every job that you do, to be authoritarian or to be like lead by example. But the way that I've witnessed firsthand, and maybe you can tell us a little bit more about it, whether it's intentional or you just like to be yourself, but you definitely just integrate and get rid of that hierarchy with laughter and with jokes, and even with fans or with audience members. Like, you make sure that everybody is seen and heard.
Yeah, I think that it's very important that like I said, it's like you said, also, you know, everybody's shit stinks, or we all cook with water and stuff. And I've been in the position where when I started out, and there was a bit of some people who were against somebody with no theatrical background playing a principal role, and looked down, and I thought, well, that made me feel horrible, you know, or good luck on singing that high note on your premiere, because if that cracks, that's a horrible feeling. Why would you say something like that to somebody? You know, that was said to me, and I would never want somebody to feel like that. And so that's why I always think that take the time to look at somebody in the eyes as a person and not the role and the feathers that they portray themselves to be, you know. Just look at them, because everybody behind the strongest person is the most fragile soul. It doesn't matter who you are. I can use an example, which I saw the other day on a live stream of Ricky Gervais. And, you know, this man is phenomenal. He does so much for mental health, and all of his TV shows are so full of truth. And Afterlife 2, which I binge watched, and it's brilliant. And it was a live stream coming up to this and about him going on about critics and stuff, but he just hung on. We're talking about a multi-millionaire. He's got talent oozing out of his pores. And the one comment that he kept going on about was this one comment who said it was mediocre. You know, he said it himself. He had thousands of positive things. This show is a success. People love him. Love the fact that he's a humanitarian. He loves dogs. He learns more from his love for dogs than he does from people. He holds their worth much higher. But he, as a person, a successful person, still holds on to that negativity. So why? Yeah, everybody's entitled to opinion. But, you know, opinions are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So don't think that anybody's opinion is the correct one. Your own opinion is the correct one.
Yeah.
You know, to love yourself enables you to be able to love. This sounds really cliche now, doesn't it, from me? But
I mean, the cliches are there for a reason, right?
Yeah, I think that that's why if I'm in the fortune to be playing a principal role, I do give everybody the benefit of the doubt, and I do give them the same respect. I feel if somebody talks down to me once, I think maybe they're having a bad day. If they talk down to me 2 times or 3 times, I just accept that person is not meant to be in my life, in the circle of friends that I choose. Because, you know, I, like everybody reads on these hopeful, inspirational comments, you know, friends are the family we choose.
Yes.
And if somebody is just bringing negative energy into my day, it's not that I'll shun them or anything. I just think, oh, you've still got a lot of learning to do. So why? I'm not strong enough to take your negativity, or because I think that it doesn't matter how strong you are. It's like the secret, you know, law of attraction. If you allow all this negativity into your life, whether it's, oh, I don't think that's right, I don't think that's right. Okay, then let's debate, but let's beg to, you know, we can agree to disagree. And that's why I think that. And I also noticed on that comment about treating people differently, just because you're in a leading role. I once did a show where I was in the ensemble when I was doing my education of theatre was doing shows.
Yeah.
That was my theatrical, how would you say, instead of going to a theatre school,
yeah,
I got my degree by performing. And it was actually the company manager. They wouldn't give me any time of the day. It was more like I was a nuisance asking a question. And it was, you know, it was just simple things like, oh, could I get the holiday schedule? Or could I ask if there's going to be a note session this Friday? And it was always like as if, you know, a bad smell under their nose was walked into the room. And the following year, in the same production, I got made the lead role. The difference I was spoken to was universal. Not universal. It was a different universe.
Yeah.
And I swore to myself, I will never speak to anybody downwards just because they are not playing a character which I respect. Do you know what I mean? You know, we've all been in shows where you go, oh, I don't like the way you delivered that line, or I don't like the way you did that, or you've let yourself go. Well, it doesn't mean they're a different person. You know, it's I don't think you should judge people from their job status or their background, where they come from. I mean, we're in the profession where we meet many wonderful people. I've sung for Nobel Prize winners. I've sat at tables with people that, you know, are of that 3%. And I'm actually sometimes just a bit like, I remember sitting, me and Sam Cassidy, we did a thing for Andrew Lloyd Webber called Superstar. And part of this competition was to become the Jesus on the tour. And during this elimination process, I think there was like 7,000 people auditioned for this. And me and Sam were in the last 20. So it was like an elimination. Yeah. And when you're in the last 20, they flew us, 20 of us, to Andrew Lloyd Webber's private mountain in Mallorca. And we were on, you know, he owned this side of the mountain. He had a villa for his son, a villa for his wife, and a villa for this. And they had a hotel, which was like one of these, I think, formerly owned by Richard Branson. They had infinity pools going out into the skyline. And on this day in question, I sat there with Andrew Lloyd Webber. It was just wonderful, wonderful individual, what he's done for theatre, and the shows must go on site, you know, allowing people to watch his shows every Friday night. Anyway, my point is, this wonderful person, he wasn't there for one day. And I said to him, because I'm like you know, I'm still that kind of village.
Yeah. It works both ways. It works both ways with you, doesn't it? As in, like, you see people below you exactly the same, but also the same as me. Like, I never really get, because I still see everyone equal, even if they're in an authoritative position or above me in any way. I'll just speak to them normally and be like, I think that's the point you're going to make, right? It's just exactly.
It was exactly that. And I said to him, oh, we missed you yesterday. And he said, oh, that's lovely, whatever. And I said, and he said, oh, was it the Queen's birthday party? Now, how many times do you hear that kind of, that conversation? As a village lad, yeah, I've had the fortune to meet many people. I mean, I've seen my partner Sharon, she like just went, what the day we met Timothy Dalton backstage. You know, he's James Bond and he's there in the theatre, and you think they're untouchable, but they're not. They still go home, go to the toilet, cook pasta with water. And, you know, they're just normal people, and they're so humble. You know, not everybody's different, but that's nothing to do with celebrity or fame. That's just to do with them being bad people. It's nothing to do with fame. And Andrew Webber, he is a wonderful person. And I said, may I ask you a question? And he's, you know, we're supposed to be doing this. I was supposed to be singing some song or auditioning again. Every day was like an audition process. He said, yes. I said, what do you buy the Queen for a birthday? What do you get the Queen for a birthday? Because I just wanted to know. I always want to know just the normal question. And he went, oh, I got a Gary Barlow. I thought it was brilliant. And after that, didn't Gary do that, some song for the UK or for the Queen or something? I can't remember what it was now, but I know it was some kind of anthemy song that he wrote for her. And I was like, how brilliant.
Yeah,
absolutely brilliant.
Makes sense. Well, I mean, I would actually go so far to say the opposite. And I don't know if you know this or not, because maybe this is just something you do on a regular basis. But you said that you don't treat anyone differently no matter the role, but there's this balance of being a performer, right? Especially like being somebody who's got a whole stage. You have to have a certain amount of confidence, a certain amount of ego to be a performer. And I think the ego is an interesting concept. One, because it's a survival instinct, and also two, that it comes with a lot of negative connotations. But if you exercise it in a healthy way, it can be really, really positive. So you've got this combination of ego when performing, or especially like in a big role. but you tend, or I've witnessed it firsthand, to build people up who are below you. Like you've given me compliments in the past that have really stuck with me, and you've been like, Elliot, I think you said to me before something like, Elliot, you've got something different. I don't know what it is. You should be an
Yeah,
actor.
you're watchable, mate. That's what it is. It's a thing that where people, and it's when you're in the audience, people can relate to somebody who's got so much openness as you do. You know, you're of one of the handful of performers that I know where you have this magnetism, you know, and it's about having that polarity where you draw people's attention towards them. And I've had good friends of mine who worked with you in other productions, and whether they've been directors like Nick Evans or Alex Andreas, who was in Bodyguard, they've gone, oh, you know, Elliot, oh mate, he's top guy, he's top, you know, and I've got like, you know, people won't have that similar opinion unless if you are that open. And I remember meeting you because you came into the cast when it was already formed. I think you took over from somebody, and I was like, man, you have to audition for Rocky. You have to, you know, you have so much personality. That is people just look at you and they think anyway, I don't know if people see this because you're hiding behind that huge beard, but you know, you have this, you're like a superhero figure that somebody will draw. That's what you are like, to me anyway. You know, I saw the first day I met you, was like, oh wow, you're like, if somebody drew a man, they draw Elliot. That's what it was. You know, it's and you don't come with that vanity package with that. You're more like, you know, I'm just Elliot.
Yeah.
And
I mean, see, you're doing it again, which is the point that I'm making. Is in, I wasn't bringing that up to get more compliments, which you very kindly did, but I think it's really important that we like as men, as generalization, tend to find it difficult to build other men up and give them compliments, or say if they see something they might be intimidated by and not bring it up and not make it a positive for them. And I just think you've got this natural ability which you do that so well, and I think it's really important too.
Well, I try to. I mean, I'm not going to put my hand up. I do get intimidated by other people, and like everybody, you know, you hear somebody sing a song how you wish you could sing it, and you get intimidated, going, "Oh, are they better than me?" No, they're the best they can be at it, and you're the best you can be at it. Always strive to be the best.
Rob, I've just seen the time, by the way. This, just to be aware, it's about to cut out. I've literally got carried away chatting with you. If it does, it's gonna cut out. What we're gonna do is, for everyone who's listening, we'll jump back in to do just 5 minutes to round it off. Yeah. A good job I caught it, so and I could tell you what's about to happen. Sorry, before
how lovely how everybody joined straight back, Elliot. That's great, isn't it?
Yeah, people are super understanding, and the community has been like that we're building. Like it's been really nice for me to have a different opinion of social media, like not pushing it and not caring too much about, like, right now the platform's got like 350 followers or something like that. That means more to me than thousands of followers, because I know that they're here for a reason and that they want to be part of it.
You've got 300 people who are listening and tuning in, whether they can, and also whether they can log into a live session or watch it again later. It's a compliment to you for what you're doing for this community.
Trying to.
Yes.
Before we got rudely interrupted by technology, you were just making a point of that. I was complimenting you on how well that you do use that ego in the right way and not afraid to build other men up around you. But you were just saying that you are human. You do get intimidated. Oh
yeah, definitely. I mean, it doesn't matter whether it can be anything, whether it's professionally or being always wanting to be a better person in life. Or for instance, I got really depressed about seeing my body change after being 40. And I used to be like trying to compete with everybody else and trying to compete with the likes of people like yourself in their 20s. And, you know, it's sometimes you have to just accept it, but it's because I'm a very competitive soul. That's why I try to also say to others, the world is big enough for all of us. And it's, you know, and I don't want people to feel like I sometimes judge myself. I'm a huge critic of myself, and I'm probably the worst listener and the best advice giver. And
Yeah.
I really like that. And I feel that I always try to motivate myself, but I also try to motivate people who are probably not that self-confident to be, it's okay. You can do it. You don't have to compete with, I don't know, Joe Bloggs, who can do, let's say, sport, for example. Somebody who doesn't want to take part in sport for whatever reason it may be. Maybe they don't look as good in those jogging pants, or they just don't like that kind of community of a fitness studio. But it doesn't mean you're not allowed to do this. It's sport. It fills you with so much energy and so much self-worth of going, wow, I achieved 5 press-ups today. And it's, you know, it's not, like you said, it's about movement. It's about not just about the physical sport side of stuff, or whether it's to do with singing a song. You know, it can be to do with how you deliver a monologue, how you sing a song, how you see yourself in public at social events. If I ever see anybody who I feel that they look a bit like a fish out of water, I always make a beeline for them and try and say, hey, are you friends of so-and-so? Or I remember when we all went to John and Kerry's wedding, you know, there was a lot of people there I just didn't know, but I was like, hey, how are you?
Yeah. That's an interesting tip, and I'd like to try and see if we can translate that to the current time.
Look at that, Jack Edwards has joined.
Hey, Jack. Translate that to what we can do in the current time, where sometimes we have to look a little bit harder, read between the lines a little bit more, if we've not heard from some of our friends a little bit more in a time like this. And then when you speak out to them, they can be, if they're short or they try and deflect, like how can we be creative in a way to get them to open up to us? So I think, in my opinion, you might have some ideas on this. That the listening is a great tool. If you can't listen, and then you can't speak. But also, like, but it's going to be hard. You're going to have to be creative. People like Rob said, like, we learn in different ways. Like we like to do different things, so that people are not going to want to communicate in the same way. So it might be the situation of going to their default. Let's sort out a virtual drink, or you tell them your problem and let them listen to you, and that might in turn, like, I think, like you said, we need to try and at this moment in time do what you do naturally, is you make a beeline for someone in a room to make them feel comfortable, because you know that, and you're grateful that you have a confidence in a social situation where you don't feel that way all the time. What
I try to do, and this I learned from good friends in an early age of being part of the theatre, was I don't like the cliques of, they're the crew, they're the soundies, they're the cast, they're the creatives. Because I'm like you, I just talk to everybody as if, you know, we're in the same machine called theatre. But I like to break those barriers down. And I think the first rule of any social community, whether it's theatre, whether it's being invited to a friend's house party or whatever, is when you meet new people, say their names when you're introduced, and then I know it's hard to do this, but if you can trigger yourself to do that you say their names at least 3-4 times in your head when they've said their name, and the next time you speak to them, call them by their name. It's such a wonderful device, and it's not a trick.
Yeah, no, it's not a trick.
Just to say, I listened, and that is the first step of trust in friendships and creating new friendships. I've seen there's a few new people joining in now. A friend of mine, Michael from America, is a wonderful writer and composer. He's just phenomenal. I did a show of his called the Protagonists, and a wonderful show last year in the Music Fest in London, and one of the best songwriter, musical theatre writers. And he's just a wonderful human being. So I'm glad that he joined this this live
Yeah,
chat.
for if any of you who are joining in late, then the whole chat will be on the story for 24 hours, so you can go back and
It's
start
probably going to
again.
last 24 hours at this rate.
You know what I mean? People are still listening to all the knowledge and opinions that you have to share, Rob. It's your fault for being too much of a good guest.
No, I just think that there's the perfect. There he is. Look with his little love heart. You're the best. No, you are, mate. I met Michael during the rehearsal, and I knew that this guy was just a modern day genius. And I just took a beeline and said, "Wow, I love your music. What's wrong in giving somebody an honest?" People are scared to give somebody who has talent a compliment, because they won't listen anyway. If they didn't listen, I've said it. I've bumped into heroes. I'm a huge fan of Gary Wilmot, and I went to see him in a show. What was it, Little Miss Sunshine in London? And like a fan, I waited to say, "You are one of the reasons I do this business. Your timing's impeccable. Your stage presence is magnetic." And and I know he was probably like, "All right, mate, he's another one of those crazy misfit fans," which I am. And but I had to, for my own. It was for me. It was very selfish of me. I just wanted to say to myself, and then to my brother or any family member, say, "Guess who I saw today?" We are in a profession where we can meet the most incredible people from both sides, from audience members. I met some wonderful giving audience members. The followers that we've been doing a few concerts for. We did a concert for funding for freelancers and stuff to raise some money to try and use this time. And people are so giving, and they're so not just with their time, but with financially, and to help artists in this moment. And we've been given a platform, like you have this platform now. But as performers, we're not all about taking. It's not all about the what we get from an audience. It really is a two-way street. It's not always about give me a compliment, give me a compliment. It's about also saying, "Hey, I'm here if you want to," like you said, "I'm here if you want to talk." And it's not about being Dr. Rob or anything. It's more about
no, it's not. It's just the university of life and things that we've learned, and that rounds us off really nicely, because what you said about a two-way street, I think that goes for everything, and that this is what we need to not be afraid of giving compliments, but not be afraid of receiving them. But also, in, like I said, the loose theme of the Monday is always Mentor Mondays, and how important it is to find your mentors and to be a mentor in life, and give freely your skills and what you have to give, but also learn as well. Be a student at the same time.
Yeah, I believe that's great advice you'd give to anybody. And be a sponge. Listen, take in what you can, and then squeeze it out what you don't need.
Yes, perfect. Rob, you've been amazing.
Great to see you, mate, as well.
I know. I'm going to do my little bit now. So, like we said before, is that this chat will be up for 24 hours. So you can go back and start all the way from the beginning. You can skip my little bit of waffle at the beginning if you want. And then if you found some value in our talk, we're just trying to get the word out there of openness, and especially to try and help some men that are struggling this time to find a community that they can align with. So there's a little refuel screenshot in the bio. If you wouldn't mind sharing that, then it would be awesome, but absolutely no pressure to do so. And if same for you, Rob, if you know anyone who's an authority on any of these figures, or you know someone with a big reach who'd be interested in coming on as a guest.
Yeah, are you also open to taking girls on?
Absolutely, mate.
I mean, this is just because I know her on a personal level. Sharon, who's just given you loads of love hearts and stuff, she is an inspiration, and I think that, to me, she's definitely made me a better man than I could have ever have been. And I think that she could help a lot of other men, without that sounding a bit double entendre.
No.
But my word of advice for everybody watching today, this is a trigger of happiness. Yeah, go and eat something you last ate when you were a child. and wait for those memories to fill you with positive endorphins, happy endorphins.
I love that. That's a great bit of advice. A real tool to connect with your innocence and your inner child. And same thing, that our senses are so strong over like a smell that we smell, a taste that we smelt from our childhood, songs that we haven't listened to in years and years. All these things. Let's try and connect a little bit. And
exactly.
Yeah. So
and then
yeah,
share it with somebody. Don't just don't be selfish and keep it to yourself. Share it.
Yes, exactly. And I'll reach out to you, Rob, about Sharon coming on. We're doing definitely doing at least one female guest a week on Female Fridays. So we'll get her on, and it'll be a pleasure of mine. It'll be an honor.
And I'm sure I'll send you a direct message as well about other people that I think would be wonderful to have on here.
We've got some value to add to the community as well. I'd love that. So thanks. You're amazing, Rob. You're an inspiration to me. You always have been, and
likewise, mate.
You're just so humble and talented, and you would not imagine what Rob can do from sitting here as a bloke just chatting with me. You should see him singing his high notes in his suspenders and heels. Is is a sight to behold.
Isn't it just? Right. Lots of love, mate.
Lots of love, mate. Love you. Thanks a lot.
Ciao.
Bye, everyone.